Well, Wilhelm, I made it, despite your directions. Welcome to Alpha 9, 0.9 that is, Aurora Borealis, the new version of Kaiserreich. It's actually quite rare that we get a new version this early. I'm going to dive right into the new game thing here and look at the new nations. Well, there aren't any new nations, but they changed nations, because... And now you see the Nordic nations are highlighted here. They've changed Finland around, they've given Iceland a focus tree, and they've changed Sweden, Norway, and Denmark's focus trees, I believe. So we've got Socialist Victory, the Old Order, the Rebellion Succeeds for Finland. We've got that's a rebellion against Germany, I suppose then. And Norway, no, that is Iceland, Expand Fishing Regions, Public Works Project, and a North Atlantic Trading Partnership. So they seem like just like a nation that tries to basically be at the heart of everything, like try to mediate between the East and West and stuff. East being Europe in this sense, and West being America. But Håkon, Democratic Mandate, Consolidation of Power, and Workers' Victory. I still don't really like this one. I don't think it really makes a lot of sense for Vidkun Quisling to actually take power or anything. Sweden, First Congress, established the Nordic Council, and Gyllenkrok regime. Denmark got the hybrid regime, Danmarks Demokrati, the King's Cabinet. Okay, so we're going to jump into King Håkon VII, simply because tomorrow is the day we in Norway celebrate Constitution Day. We celebrate the ratification of our constitution in 1814. May 17th, 1814. It's kind of like July 4th in America. And it even like we celebrated very very rigorously compared to a lot of other national holidays. Like we straight up march in the streets. We've got flags everywhere. People dress up. People wear like traditional garb and everything. And yeah, it gets wild. So, well, I mean, it's not like 4th of July where you set up fireworks and, you know, get drunk. It's more wholesome than that. Though a lot of people do get. So they've been working for months now, and they've finished a new version of the mod. Thank you sincerely, Kaiserreich team. I love you guys. So before we do anything else, I want to have a look at the patch notes and see if we can't see anything that's changed. So supposedly a lot of the map in Eastern Europe has changed, though sadly I am not familiar enough with how the map looked before, so I can't actually tell you how it changed. However, let's have a look at the patch notes. Map changes in Eastern Europe. Yep, added some new tags for Caribbean names, or Caribbean places, and Suriname. They changed ship speed calculations so that it no longer uses percentages, and that might be good because I think a lot of exploits existed for that. And that's probably going to make the ship combat feel a bit less lopsided than it did before. Maximum political power saved, upped drastically. I'm not sure how that's going to go. Probably it won't change a lot because there's really no like way to abuse that, I think. Having a lot of it. And then they changed base gain from 1 to 1.5, which is going to help out nations like Russia and Germany, who get a lot of events that just sap your political power. Alright, let's jump right into the patch notes here. So, civil war can no longer be avoided in the US, though paths exist, no longer just on the Olsen route, which allow either Reed or Long to be assassinated, which prevents either the CSA or AUS from rising respectively. So the civil war now is an inevitability, no matter what, but you can take out 2 of the nations that start in it. Interesting. So you can end up with no Southern Confederate, or I mean, it's not a confederate, but a confederacy, but no Southern AUS or no Northern CSA. Interesting. An option has been made for post-ACW American Civil War, USA, which returns to democracy to negotiate with the PSA for a peaceful reunion. So, the Pacific states of America and the normal United States can actually have a union again peacefully. That's cool, because the PSA never really were a breakaway nation. They just didn't quite mesh with the idea of the American Caesar, Mr. Douglas MacArthur, just taking over the state apparatus. So they elected their own president. So we have a number of focus trees that have been reworked and expanded. American Union State, Combined Syndicates of America, a United States of America, Denmark, Nordic Federation, Norway, Pacific States of America, Russia, and Sweden. Let's have a look at some of the ones that I'm familiar with to see how they changed. So let's have a look at Russia first. It seems like the changes were probably minor because we still have this general setup here. Yeah, I don't see any huge changes in Russia here. I think it's mostly like, yeah, I see some, I think some of the stuff might be changed, the foreign policy stuff. But most of it does seem the same. I think it's just small changes in order to like rebalance it or better balance it. Let's have a look at the Danish focus tree, and this seems pretty big. Oh my god, actually, yeah. Dude, this is huge. So you can modernize the Sjøvan. Is it how you spell it in Danish? Sjøvan? I think that might be a typo. I think you're meant to have a J there for C. The Danish, Norwegian, and Swedish name for sea is very similar. Bring the Hær to the 20th century, so that's modernizing the army. Fallskjerm regiment, legged infantry shall do. Yeah, this is like Treaty of Stockholm with the Nordic Council, which was the Nordic Federation was bugged in the past version, and hopefully now it's fixed. And yeah, there's a lot of stuff regarding the gold standard or silver standard and stuff like that. This was a big problem in Scandinavia. There you go, with the currency problem there. I mean, it was a problem the world over during the Great Depression, but in Scandinavia, Norway especially, we had this, well, like a silver crisis, where we tried to like move off the silver standard and stuff. It's a whole mess. I don't quite remember all of it from my classes in Norwegian history. Support Nordisk Film. This is actually a real company that exists now that does make films. Quite good as well. Jagged Corpse. I like this. This is cool. I like the Danish tree. We got here a moderate revolution of Denmark. So they want to go like social democrats, hybrid regime here. Or you can go the King's Cabinet and try to go full like monarchist. Or you can go pluralism and try to go for a more democratic path. Both of these seem very democratic, and this is very like very Nordic democratic socialism, it seems. Look at Sweden. I remember Sweden had an interesting tree with the Swedish tiger. So the issues at hand, so this is basically the starting position that puts them into an election where either the Conservatives or the opposition win. Opposition being Social Democrats, and the Conservatives being kind of like the normal Scandinavian Conservatives, I assume. It does seem like it. All of them do lead down to the Nordic Federation, it seems. Yeah, all of them can lead down to the Nordic Federation. That's cool. I like that unless a nation goes like very hard in one direction, all of them seem to have like a common fate. Jungjunta. Okay, so here we've got the revolutionary path. That can take them down social or syndicalists, radical socialists, and totalist paths. And you got the railroad from the railroads, Royal Institute of Technology, Bofors, famous weapon manufacturing, I believe, and Husqvarna. That's they make kitchen appliances and stuff nowadays, at least. Landstormen, so that's kind of like a militia, national militia. Yeah, I like this. This is really cool, and a lot of stuff regarding the Air Force and the Navy here. The Danish one seems a bit deeper, in my opinion, with some more like historical, more Or I don't know. It seems it's got more references to Denmark's history, but I might be wrong. Might just not be very familiar with the Swedish history. They actually seem like they've got quite a bit of like a good balance there. Okay, now for me to either be disappointed or very excited. This is Norway, my home country. Army Air Service. So yeah, Norway's air service was linked to the army before World War II, until we established the Luftforsvaret, which is the air force, the air defense or whatever, like an independent branch. On the Rakettskytefelt, I had a teacher that worked there once. That's where they shoot up satellites and stuff. Sponsorship question. Early on, a very like, talk of like modernizing the navy and stuff. Those even like talks of that have gone on since like 1905 or some shit, or like 1910, I think. When I was writing my bachelor's thesis and reading newspapers from like 1914, they were still talking about stuff like this. Revised the 1933 army plan. Yep, this is from the default game. Or, no, sorry, not the default game, but from the previous version as well. Workers' Victory, so this is where you go down the socialist paths with Martin Tranmæl, the leader of the Norwegian Labour Party during this period, which eventually split and created a Norwegian Communist Party and Norwegian Labour Party after there was a conflict about whether or not they should be, like, actually a part of the Communist International. So you can declare martial law and force the king to abdicate. It's actually interesting because like this king, King Haakon VII, he was popular. He was very popular in Norway. But his absurd popularity now is because of his actions during the wartime, and that never happens here. Like Nazi Germany doesn't invade, so King Haakon VII doesn't become a symbol of Norwegian resistance against Nazi occupation. And yeah, the Black Devils, all this stuff is pretty standard, like it used to be. The Nordic Federation, Scandinavian Airlines, cool. That still exists. And then we've got the strange path here that goes down a sort of national populist, almost basically Nazi, like Nordic Nazism, with or Nordic like extreme nationalism with Vidkun Quisling at the helm. Vidkun Quisling was the man who perpetrated a coup against the Norwegian state, which was such a strange thing because the way it actually happened was when the Nazis invaded, he had gotten forewarning, I think, from the Nazis because he was, he had at least met Hitler several times before, and so what he did was he ran straight into the Norwegian broadcasting or national broadcasting offices, the radio offices, and just had them broadcast a message over the radio that said, I am now, or he has now declared the new prime minister and all that stuff. Excuse me if you heard that. So obviously that coup was just like him talking on the radio, and then when the Germans arrived, they put a Reichskommissar in charge of Norway instead, and he was kind of put to the sideline. He was an opportunist who never really, had any support, at least not broad support, but he was a leader of the sort of national populist kind of movement that was going on in Norway at the time, which was very strongly linked to the German Nazi movement. In fact, I would call them like Nazis, but in Norway. Anyways, let's go back to the patch notes. We got new events to the Nordic Federation: Norway, Sweden, Iceland, Finland, and Denmark. Oh, actually, we didn't look at Iceland. Or Finland, for that matter. So, they've got Black Monday woes. So this is basically like most countries having a tree that takes them down to removing Black Monday effects. Public work projects, Danish bailout, so they're getting bailed out by Danish banks. Alright, and then you can move in different directions here in terms of like getting support. So you can turn inwards, shutting yourself off from the world. You can try to reach... Oh, so you get focused... Okay, cool. So it unlocks different focuses when you get different people to help them. So currently, I think they are a puppet of Denmark, yeah. So you can try to get free of Denmark or try to integrate deeper with Denmark and the Nordic nations, I think. And you can actually try to, it seems, I think this might be related to if Canada does some stuff to you, and there's loyalty to England in case the English do stuff to you. So Iceland kind of becomes this, this like linchpin of a lot of the Atlantic policy going on here. So like a bunch of nations will be trying to influence Iceland, I think, in order to gain the the naval bases here, to control the Arctic naval, naval zones. Pretty cool. And Finland, of course. Let's have a look. So the rebellion succeeds. Interesting. So this seems like a... Oh no, this isn't just getting rid of the Germans. This is actually like a nationalist kind of thing. Not just like nationalism in terms of getting, you know, a nation of your own. This one also is like very anti-socialist. This seems like a very aggressive foreign policy one. And then we've got a... Interesting, so wait. Does the Red Cross get formed in Finland in this timeline? That is interesting. Okay, yeah, so monolingualism. So here is also like a kind of nationalist one. You go down this way at least. You get a strengthened president, a truly Finnish party, so one party rule it seems like, with a national coalition. You get monolingualism because Finland has several languages going on right now. They got Sami languages in the north, and they got Swedish, and they got Finnish, and probably Russian in the east here. Monarchy and presidency, different paths. Democracy triumphant, with the Finnish swastika, which is completely actually independent of the Nazi swastika. It is actually a symbol which was found, I believe, in the Finno-Ugric peoples, their symbols. Like, it's an old traditional symbol used by the indigenous people of Finland. So democracy triumphant, social democrats, red earth government, and the agrarians. So I think, let's see, social liberals. Wait, no. Social democrats or social liberals, or those have to be social liberals, and those can be social democrats. Okay, so one of these seems to be about like conservative centrism, maybe. One of them is way more conservative. It is also seems a bit more nationalist with the curtailing of Swedish rights, as well as a return to like traditional farming and stuff. Then you got the Democrat or Social Democrat, the Nordic way, I think. And then you have the socialist victory. So it seems as if Finland is going to have. It seems almost as if Finland is going to have a civil war, or some sort of like constitutional crises, because all these are like victory ones that aren't unlocked by someone completing them. They are unlocked by event. Dude, that is cool. I can totally see a Finland playthrough in the future. And then foreign policy here, aggressive expansionism and diplomacy, and trying to deal with Russia diplomatically. And asserting Finnish neutrality, or proclaim Greater Finland. That's the one you pick if you, as Finland, want to restore the Roman Empire. Alright then, well, let's go through the patch notes some more and see if there's anything else we need to look at. So they've redone some portraits here for Get from Runstedt, cool. Heinz Guderian as well, nice. August von Manek. Okay, so a lot of new German portraits. Maybe we'll see those in the German Empire playthrough if this patch works with the previous save game. Music mod added a bunch of new songs, removed a couple of them. And the music mod is now compatible with Iron Man. I think a lot of people are going to be happy about that one. Updated naval doctrines according to Man the Gun's vanilla changes. Very good. Increased cost of heavy carriers. Probably good as well. Removed some, yeah, some superfluous parts. Japan can now release Indo-Chinese tags. Interesting. Added Transamur claims on most of Russia, so Transamur can actually try to take over most of Russia. Cuba no longer sends military assistance to its enemies. Good. AI values in Norway rebalanced to provoke action in the Scandinavian region. I never felt like that was ever a problem. I felt like Norway constantly wanted to go to war with Sweden, but alright. And nothing in this version is incomplete content. That's awesome. This is actually rare as well. Bunch of fixes. The Nordic Federation can now be formed. That is what we're going to be doing in the next series we're making. Soviets can now peace out with Japan if they kick them off the mainland. Good. That is going to be important in the German Empire playthrough, actually. More countries start with Transport Tech 1. Good. Insulindia, Norway now get proper ships from events and focuses. Alright. That's actually important, especially for Insulindia, which is a formidable nation, I think. Yeah. Sorry, you can't see what I'm seeing when I'm just going over to check stuff. There's nothing new there, really. Fixed many bugs we forgot to note down. Classic developer thing. Alright, well, that's awesome. Mexico no longer hates the Communards for holding a congress that follows their ideology. Good thing. Anyways, I'm super excited to get back into this, or get into this new mod version here. Kaiserreich, version 0.9, Aurora Borealis. Thank you for watching, and hopefully I'll see you in the subsequent series on Norway. Goodbye.